Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. This year's Joburg Indaba kicked off in Sandton this week. The Indaba has become a critical platform for industry leaders to engage in conversations on the mining industry. Martin Creamer attended and gives us the highlights. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Sashnee.
Former AngloGold Ashanti CEO Bobby Godsell suggested a partnership with Labour to bring about mining change. Can you expand on this?
Yes, he said never before in recent history has there been such consensus amongst Labour that they're prepared to fix the industry. So it's time really for business to lock arms with Labour and to actually make sure that the government brings about the proper changes, because the government has been sitting on legislation for many years now. They keep on saying we're going to change it, and then it becomes such a horror story that they change it again, and then it becomes more horrible, and then they just leave it in abeyance, and so it's in limbo at the moment. So he's saying that there is an opportunity for the sort of a coalition of the willing to get together now and make sure that the economy can still be driven by mining. And they sketched the absolute collapse of the mining industry. It began with the keynote address from Enoch Ngodwana of the ANC. He's head of the economics, he's chairman of the economics committee of the ANC. And he was saying that you've lost half the jobs you had in mining. The gold output is just dismal. It's like the 7th in the world from being top. And there's so much economic loss out of that at a time when we really need it. You've got students out there demanding more money. Everybody's wanting more expenditure. The country's poverty level is not improving. The inequality gap is there. You actually need these foreign exchange flows, which we used to get. We used to have this money flowing in from mining, but everybody has not treated mining in the way it should since 1994. There's been a mistrust, and there's been a trust deficit. But people are seeing now this is an important industry. Let us create a long-term vision for it, a strategic vision. Let us not cold shoulder or be lukewarm about the National Development Plan and what it says about mining. Let's get closer to that, and if we've got to add to it, let's do it, but let's get something set in concrete, and it must last for 30-year vision, because that's the only way you can develop this mining industry. And they were showing that the mining industry developed best when there were big families that sort of controlled the different mining houses, and they weren't after getting money out of it. They would leave cash in it so you could do things even when there was a downturn. But we don't have that anymore. We came out of a boom, and most of the mining companies were deeply in debt. But you find that even Assor, which is sort of still family controlled, they're sitting on cash. They're doing well. They're able to spend a lot of money during the downturn. But also the shareholders are complaining because they haven't got much return. And the irony is that the government does get a lot out of this, and you wonder why it doesn't want to promote it, because it's a huge source of tax, and even more important, it's a huge source of foreign exchange, which you need to support that rand. And now the penny is beginning to drop, that we've got to do this, and we must be unresistible. We must move forward in an unresistible fashion, so that we've got both business and Labour together. Government can't actually turn that away, because they are really the people that are generating in all directions. And hopefully, we will see something come out of it, because Labour was there, Labour was represented. There was a debate around Labour. There's still, Joseph Matinjwa was still indicating sort of mistrust. There are legacy issues, but in the document that was put out even on the eve of this mining Indaba, it said, we must acknowledge that there were past wrongs. We must acknowledge the inhumanity of the past. We must acknowledge that it wasn't always moral what was done. And we must seek forgiveness. The industry must seek forgiveness and unwind this mistrust, because otherwise your future generations are going to suffer. Children are going to suffer. We just won't have that economic backbone that we really need at the moment.
Former Finance Minister Trevor Manuel said that South Africa should take mining seriously. Can you expand on this?
And it was interesting coming from Trevor Manuel because perhaps, those people in finance in the past have not really taken mining too seriously themselves. Look, they wanted to try and move the economy away from too much dependence on mining. So coming in 1994, you think, well, mining's so strong, let's try and make other sectors of the economy strong, which we see happening in Botswana now. People want to do that. They don't want to be too dependent. But in doing so, perhaps they never gave enough attention. I can remember people saying, if you don't have exploration, you won't have a mining industry. So you must start incentivizing exploration, and you must do it like the Canadians do. That's why there's like thousands of mining companies on there, because they've got the flow-through scheme where if a taxi driver invests in mining, he gets the tax benefit. And it's a huge incentive. If you go to Toronto and you see all those skyscrapers, it's all around mining. And so Trevor Manuel, he actually promised to bring in a flow-through scheme, and in a budget one year he said, no, we're going to have the flow-through scheme next year, we're working on it now. But when the next year came, he said, no, we've got something better. And he gazetted an incentive scheme that was so mingy and stingy that not one mining company has ever taken it up. I mean, they just looked at this thing and thought, no. But when you call Treasury in and you say, this is not working, they argue. They tell you, no, it is working. So you say, well, give us a list of the recipients. They give you a list and there's not one mining company. I mean, now you say this is an unintended consequence. This is going to boutiques in the Western Cape, financial boutiques. I mean, that's not what it was about. Oh, no, look at it, it's working. No, so, they can be stubborn. They've also done their damage to the mining industry, no doubt. But Trevor Manuel is saying, let's take the mining seriously now, because you can see it's a flywheel of the economy. And if it is decimated the way it has been, your people lose out. The government loses out, business loses out, the economy loses out. And you don't get that foreign exchange that you need. But even more, you don't get the foreign direct investment, which is so important. So the penny's dropping, and I think that people are all saying now, let's get a long-term vision for this, because there's likely to be an upturn in this industry. Let's be ready for it. We came out of the last upturn with all the mining companies in debt. I mean, it's just like really terrible. Whereas you can see in history, even when commodity prices used to fall, our mining companies still used to be strong. They still had cash. They could still spend. They could still advance, so that when there was an upturn, they could really benefit again. And I think people are beginning to realize that's the way to go.
Fund managers at the Indaba pointed out that government should be mining's biggest beneficiary.
Yes, I mean, why does the government continually try to hurt an industry that actually brings it so much benefit? Now, the fund managers couldn't work this out. They were saying, well, you'd think that people in government realize, hey, this is something of value for us. We're going to get a lot of revenue from this. We can then look astute in politics, because we'll have money to spend. We'll have money to spend in areas. We'll be able to build infrastructure. We'll be able to have socio-economic development and help people who are poverty-stricken, and also close the inequality gap. We'll look good. We'll stay in power. But for some reason, they think that the mining industry needs to be hurt all the time. And I think it's because of the history. There's a mistrust. But there was indications that trust deficit is starting to end, and there's probably more trust than ever. Hopefully we'll see that come through. But, the fund manager was saying, why must I invest in a mining company? I'm putting people's pension funds and provident funds. They're going to come and scream at me. When there's ShopRite checkers, you sit there, ShopRite, no, that's a much better bet. The shares are going to do much better. Or Pick and Pay, the people are going to go in and buy the food, and so it's too risky. The fund managers find the mining industry too risky, and that's very bad. Because if you don't get the capital in, you can't grow. The mines need people with very deep pockets and a lot of faith. And we used to have that because your anchor shareholders were family-orientated owners who had created the businesses. And so they were prepared to keep a lot of cash, and when the company needed it, they were prepared to release it, and they were prepared to not take dividends if necessary. They spoke of Harry Oppenheimer taking many decades before he became a billionaire. So you see these days the guys want to be billionaires very fast. So it's a different sort of mentality, but it doesn't help your development of an industry. And there were some good thoughts coming through there, and I think that will help us in the long run. But we do need to have some investment and exploration, and people vote with their feet. If they can't get a good outlook here, they will go into Africa, where there's a lot of opportunity. And you can hear the investment managers saying, no, I want to go into the Democratic Republic of Congo. If the political climate is right, the copper there is so rich, it's close to surface. So we could lose out quite badly if we don't create a certainty, and we don't sort of, once we've decided on it, stick to it. Don't keep changing everything. Don't make these additions and subtractions. Be developmental from the start, as people are now prepared to be. They want to take into account their workers, very precious to them. Make sure that they are well looked after. The communities, they want the communities around the mines to be happy. They want the government to benefit from tax, and they want their employees to do well. So it's something that we should all collectively look at and push forward, because we've still got a lot of value in the ground. I mean, people keep saying, we've got this $2.5 trillion worth of metals and minerals in the ground, but it's worth nothing if you can't have the capital to bring it out.
Thanks, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Sashnee.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.